On the evening of the 31st of January 2025, 61-year-old Sidwell Sibisi had a car breakdown on a quiet road outside Dagakral in Mpumalanga. He called for help, but by the time help arrived, Sidwell was dead. At first glance, it looked like a roadside robbery, a type of crime that is unfortunately very common in South Africa. But as investigators dug deeper, they found that it was no random act, but rather a calculated and selfish crime at the hands of those he trusted the most. This is the story of Sidwell Sibisi. Let's get into it. I know that some of you have probably wondered where I've been and why I've stopped making these videos. I am still alive and well. I had just needed to take a mental health break. For me, telling true crime stories, as important as I believe it is, can take a toll on one's mental health. I had been creating these videos for a year when I realized that the gory stories that I tell had taken a toll on my mental health and I needed a break. But I am back and I will continue to tell these stories because I started this channel with the belief and conviction that the stories of these human beings, these individuals whose lives are cut short in such brutal ways, deserve to be told in a platform that is rigorous in terms of the research that is done, but also that is respectful to the memories of these individuals. And therefore, I will continue to tell these stories. Let's get back into it. Sidwell Sibisi was a 61-year-old respected member of his community in Dagakral, a small rural town in Mpumalanga, not far from Volksrust. He was a teacher by profession and at some point even involved in the provincial leadership of SADTU. One person that knew him from SADTU described him as a soft-spoken comedian, and that wherever he went, it seems that laughter just followed him. People were laughing everywhere. And most importantly, Sidwell was a man of God. He was an archbishop of the Pentecost East Star Jerusalem Church, leading a big church that had branches in Mpumalanga, KZN, and the Eastern Cape. He was married to 47-year-old Sibongile Sibisi, and together they had a family that included Sibongile's son from a previous relationship, 23-year-old Ndumiso Mabona. It is not known exactly how long the couple had been married. On the evening of the 31st of January 2025, Sidwell, along with his stepson Ndumiso, were traveling together on a road outside Dagakral when, according to Ndumiso, they got a flat tire and pulled over to wait for assistance. Shortly afterwards, a white Toyota Fortuner approached. Its occupants climbed out, and what followed was swift and brutal. The men attacked Sidwell with an axe and a panga, hacking him to death right there on the side of the road. Ndumiso stated that the attackers handcuffed him, restrained him, but left him physically unharmed. When the violence was over, the men got back in their vehicle and drove away. Police were called to the scene, and immediately something felt wrong. The fact that the attackers had chosen a panga and an axe as their weapons of choice was a bit odd to police. In addition, in many road robberies, victims would be ambushed and attackers would grab what they wanted to take and disappear. But if they wanted to commit murder, what was also surprising to police was that why murder one person and leave a surviving witness and leave them unharmed? And when you think about it, if they had to choose to kill one person, why not a younger, stronger 23-year-old as opposed to an old man who is a pensioner. So all those details were very odd to police. As they started digging deeper, they found that 14 months before Sidwell was killed, in November of 2023, a young man had walked into a local bank and registered a life cover policy in the name of his stepfather. That young man was Ndumiso, and he had done so without the consent of Sidwell. The named beneficiary on the policy was Sibongile, Sidwell's wife and Ndumiso's mother. She was the person that stood to collect the payout if Sidwell died. But what made it even worse was that investigators believe that the method of killing, by selecting a brutal and violent death through an axe and a panga, the killers may have wanted to deliberately trigger a specific clause in the insurance policy that the payout would double if the death was unnatural or sudden. Thus, it seemed to police that this was a contract killing, perhaps initiated by Ndumiso, who clearly now had a strong motive, which would also explain why the attackers, who had every reason to silence him, would have left him unharmed, suggesting therefore that the handcuffs they put on him were therefore a prop rather than a restraint, a way to give Ndumiso a credible, sympathetic story to tell police when they arrived. If you are intrigued by my storytelling, please like this video so that it reaches more people. That is really helpful to the channel. Please also consider subscribing if you are not yet a subscriber. The community of Dagagral also had many questions of their own about this case, taken to Facebook groups, community watch forums, and comment sections of local news pages. Residents asked the same thing that police were asking. How did the man in that white Fortuner, first of all, know exactly where Sidwell would be if, let's say, it's a contract killing that is not related to Ndumiso, or that if, for example, let's say it was a contract killing by disgruntled members of the church or by someone else, how did those attackers know exactly where Sidwell would be on a dark, desolate stretch road and at that precise moment? Two theories circulated, that either Ndumiso sent them a message, or that even before they left home, he must have sabotaged the tires, that there was no accident, or that the tire was not merely flat by accident. Nothing, of course, has been confirmed. There is also the matter of the bank, where people are asking, how does a 23-year-old just walk into a financial institution and successfully register a life cover without his stepfather, without him signing anywhere or being present? But as South Africans, you and I know that this is common practice, unfortunately, with banking institutions, where any one of us can have life insurance policies taken out on our lives without our knowledge. What makes this particular betrayal cut even deeper is the type of man that Sidwell Sibisi was. Because Ndumiso was not the first child that Sidwell had welcomed into his home and loved as if it were his own child. He had done it before. Prior to being married to Ndumiso's mother, Sidwell had another wife that he was married to, who had a son that he raised as his own. In an interview with Newsroom Africa, the son spoke about his father, saying that he was not his biological father, but had raised him so well and with a lot of love. And that is just revealing of the type of man that Sidwell Sibisi was.
Awubaba futhi osifisela okuhle, asiphushela to i-direction yokuthi siphushe sibe abantu nathi emphakathini, sikwazi ukuyiphilela, sikwazi ukuyiphilisa. Why all about that? nemfundo, wayethanda ukufunda, wayewutishera futhi nasesikolweni. He always preached indaba yesikolo nayo yonke lento leyo ukuthi kuze sibe something kumele sifunde. Ngaphandle lo bekasithanda kakhulu njoba ngisho nje ukuthi mina kimi bekawu stepfather mara ngikaze ngakubona lo akaze angibonisa ukuthi ngindodana yakhe angisiyindodana yakhe ayizalayo.
It was also mentioned in one newspaper article that this was not the first husband of Sibongile that died under mysterious circumstances. However, it has not been confirmed. But if you have watched my channel, and if you are familiar with the stories of Rosemary Ndlovu, of Rachel Kutumela, and many other stories, you will know that by the time a person is caught for committing this type of murder-for-profit crime, it is unlikely that it's the first time they're doing it. Therefore, it remains to be seen if more skeletons are going to be uncovered related to Sibongile and perhaps even her son Ndumiso, tying them to other matters. So on the 13th of June 2025, some 5 months after the death of Sidwell Sibisi, Ndumiso and his mother were arrested. This is months after community members in different forums were already putting it out there that Ndumiso must have been the one involved. But of course, the police do their investigation thoroughly, usually before they make an arrest. 4 days after they were arrested, the two appeared in the Amersfoort Magistrate Court for their first appearance and were remanded in custody. These were not strangers that were pulled off the street for this crime. These were people that Sidwell brought into his home, loved and trusted. People that for more than a year had been planning, doing the groundwork for his death. The men who were in the white Toyota Fortuner that night have not yet been found, and it remains to be seen if they are going to be found and brought to justice. The case is now in the court system. The two suspects are in custody, and it remains to be seen really if they are going to be found guilty, first of all, but also what type of sentences they are going to be given. And it also remains to be seen if laws are going to be made in South Africa regarding life insurance policies and who can take out a life insurance policy, because it seems that almost every week there's a new story of murder for profit through life insurance policies and funeral covers. But that is it for today's story. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Please remember to like this video and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.